AITA for not leaving with my newborn twins and toddler while my sister had a meeting. I, 23F, have a 2-year-old son and 2-month-old twins. I am a stay-at-home mom, and my sister, 25F, who is in grad school, has been staying with us while her apartment building gets fumigated. She had a meeting with one of her professors to talk about some stuff regarding a project and set up her laptop in the kitchen. It's worth noting that the kitchen is right off the children's play area/bedroom, and she also has a bedroom all to herself that has a desk, and the Wi-Fi is decent in. About 5 minutes into her meeting, my 2-year-old, who was playing with his toy trucks, got hurt and started crying. He wasn't even having a tantrum, just crying because he got hurt. After a few minutes, my sister excuses herself from her meeting for a moment and yells at me to take the kids out of the house, and that she needs total silence. I told her I wasn't going to take my 3 small children out by myself, with no stroller, which was unfortunately left in the car my husband took that morning. She has been telling me all week that I ruined her meeting and I need to get my children under control. My parents agree that I was being unreasonable. AITA. Edit to add, this is my home with my husband and my children. My husband and I were very lucky to buy a home before the pandemic whilst I was pregnant with our oldest son. My parents did not and do not fund any part of our lives. They do, however, fund my sister's life. So as she gets in trouble in grad school, it affects them as much as her. But it is my home. Last edit. I didn't think this had to be specified, but apparently some people are living in an alternate 2021. It was a Zoom meeting. Her graduate school professor did not come to my home for a meeting during a pandemic. Story 2. My 33F husband, 36M, called me fat and smelly during an argument. It's been 5 months and I can't get those words out of my head. I don't even want to be intimate anymore. Throw away because my other account identifies who I am. I'm American with African heritage. Husband is from Africa. He moved to the U.S. after the birth of my son because he had medical complications. We're still waiting on my husband's adjustment of status. 4 months after I give birth, I blow up to my husband about how he's being lazy, and I have to take on everything, the baby, household chores, on top of working from home for an IT company. He sleeps in and watches videos all day. I asked him to take initiative, take a training class, or get started on the business idea. He says there's no point now until he gets the adjustment of status. I said that's not true. You start the groundwork, and then once you have legal status, at least the hard part will be done. Then about the housework, he said be lucky that he stays home with the baby while I have my work meetings. Other men are in coffee shops and don't come home until late. I said if I wanted that type of man, that's who I would have married. Why are you lowering your standards and comparing yourself to that kind of man? I asked him how come we're not affectionate anymore. He used to call me my love and cuddle and kiss me all the time. Now we're living like roommates in a platonic relationship. Even when we're not fighting, there is no romance. Then he said the worst thing anyone has said to me. He said he doesn't want to touch me anymore because I smell of sweat and poop, and that I was fat, and instead of losing weight after the birth, I gained weight and look 4 months pregnant still, which is true but still hurts to hear it put that way. That was such a blow to my self-esteem, which I've always struggled with. I was so deeply hurt by his words. He said I hurt him with my words, calling him lazy, and so I'm the one who brought him to the point to say those nasty words to me. A week passed and we weren't speaking to each other. I eventually raised the white flag and said I apologized for the words that I said to you. I know they hurt you. He said he accepts my apology. Then things were quiet. Then I said, are you sorry for the words you said to me? He said, yes, sorry. And that was that. To me, that wasn't an apology because I had to fish it out of him. I admit that I could have smelled of sweat, but he could have gently said something like, honey, I see that you're tired. Why don't you run a relaxing bath and freshen up while I hold the baby? He can send the message without being hurtful about it. And the poop comment after sex, he made me smell his hand and said, do you smell anything? I smelled and I just smell my natural vaginal smell. I also went to the gyno and I have no infections, and she said things are fine. I use a bidet after I poop and then wipe with a fresh wipe on top of that, so I know I'm not walking around smelling like poop. The only thing I can think of is maybe he's not a fan of my natural vaginal smell, but there's nothing I can do about that. And why bring that up now? Why go ahead with the marriage if this is something that was bothering him since the beginning of the relationship? I've never had a guy complain of my smell before. This is a first, and the way he brought it up is beyond hurtful. It's been 5 months, and things are back to normal. but to me they aren't. I never initiate sex anymore. I fake my orgasms. Every time he does touch me, all I can think of is, does my breath stink? Does my hair smell? Do I smell of sweat, etc.? I become even cleaner than I already am, and it's still the only thing I can think about when he comes close to me. He brought up how he's upset that there is a lack of romances in our relationship. I said, why do you think that is? He again repeated that he said those hurtful words because I made him say them when I called him lazy. If I had not blown up at him, then he would not have said those things. He said, besides, what's the big deal? We apologized to each other and turned to a blank page. I said the fact that he never gave me a real apology like the ones I give where I hug him, say I'm deeply sorry, and then mention the exact thing I'm apologizing for to show I'm apologizing from the heart. The fact that I had to fish the apology out of him means he didn't take back what he said in a real manner. He continued saying he apologized already, and what more do I want? I said again exactly what type of apology I'm wanting, and to this day, he still won't give it to me or show me he regretted the words he said. I asked if it was an ego thing. He said no. I'm at a loss what to do. Now for the past 5 months after I blew up, he now does help a lot around the house. So no complaints there, although he now believes that he's always been helping me, and it's not because I blew up at him. He now truly believes I blew up out of nothing, and so that gives him the right to say the mean things he said and that I asked for it. Is there even a way to salvage this relationship? On top of the in-law problems where he doesn't stand up for me in front of them because he's afraid of his mother's wrath and so avoids it at all costs. I just wonder if it's even worth it to stay in this relationship. Even if we do end up in divorce, I want him to get his green card as soon as possible so that he can still come visit his son when he wants without me having to travel to his home country. TLDR. Husband retaliated in an argument by saying I smelled like poop and was even fatter than after I had just given birth. Is there a way to turn over a new leaf when he won't give me a real apology for what he said? I feel I had discussed him. Story 3. Friends, mid-30s F, are all pregnant or recently had a baby. I'm 33 F, feeling very lonely and not sure what to do. I'm 33 F, in a close group of female friends who either recently gave birth or are pregnant and expecting very soon. All anyone ever talks about are their babies, or how they are feeling during pregnancy, or how their labor was, or relationships with their in-laws/spouse now that they have a baby, and so on and so forth. Some people are a little better about trying to talk about non-baby talk, but it very quickly turns back into baby talk. I do try to start conversations about work or something else, but people don't seem very interested, and it quickly turns back to baby talk again. No one really has time to see each other anymore, which I expected but doesn't make it any less sad and disappointing. I try to hint to them that it's sad being the one person who isn't pregnant or with baby, and their general response was that being a parent is all-consuming so you don't have time for anything else. I'm married, but we don't expect to try for kids for another few years. I feel like I have nothing to relate to these friends anymore, at least not until we start trying in for a few years. I feel very lonely and don't really know what to do about my friendships. I do have some other not as close friends where we bond over certain hobbies, but the relationship is nowhere near as fulfilling, especially because everyone has their own close friend group. I would like to get some advice on what I can do to mitigate this lonely feeling. TLDR, friends are all with baby, nothing left in common to talk about and don't really hang out. Feeling lonely.